It's no secret that WWE's popularity has been declining in the last few years, and of course, we all know this was accelerated by the global pandemic in 2020. But WWE continues to be a very successful company, constantly raking in billion-dollar deals. And you might be wondering why that is the case. Now, before we can kind of get into that, we have to mention that Logan Paul, the famous YouTuber who has been controversial in many years of being a content creator, he will actually have a spot on the WrestleMania card. And we're going to talk about what Logan Paul will be doing at WrestleMania because he's actually in line for a major role within the company. And I think this actually may lead to a future with WWE. So we're going to touch on that as well. But yeah, Logan Paul is coming to WWE. And you might be angered by this. You're probably upset about this because one of your favorite wrestlers may have just been released by WWE in the past year due to the pandemic. We also know that a huge name has just been released by WWE, and that is Andrade Cien Almas, right? We all know former NXT champion, WWE US champion. Andrade had a lot of potential with WWE, but of course, Andrade never really got to that main event level, like Rey Mysterio or Alberto Del Rio. And lately, due to the new release that, he was released from the company, once we got that news, we now found out through various interviews that Andrade has exposed WWE. So, of course, this has probably angered you. Why is somebody like Logan Paul getting a spot on the WrestleMania card while somebody like Andrade is getting released? Well, guys, it goes back to what I've been saying for years on YouTube. Ratings mean absolutely nothing. You guys will try your hardest to argue this with me, but I'm not sure if you can convince me. Now, who the hell am I for you to try to convince? But let's talk about this. See, WWE is in a very weird situation. Despite television being, inconsistent, some days are good, some days are really, really bad. And despite WWE having some really big names on their roster, WWE just doesn't seem to be tapping into the younger audience. This has also been very apparent because when you consider the competition that they have with AEW on Wednesday nights, it looks like AEW can sometimes have less total viewers than NXT, but still have higher viewership with the actual demographics that matter, which of course is the 18 to 34 age range. Now, I'm not going to go into the main reason as to why that's important, other than it has to do with advertising and money. So, of course, NXT at times may beat AEW in total viewership, but AEW gets the most important target demographics. And that right there is very important, and it continues to be a reason why AEW is also a successful alternative product to WWE, despite AEW also being pretty inconsistent with their programming. So why is this all relative to Logan Paul coming to WWE? Well, it's simple. WWE has not attracted a young fan base in years. WWE is always looking at numbers and make huge decisions in regards to booking celebrities based on those numbers. This is also the same reason why somebody like Bad Bunny is wrestling in a singles match against The Miz at WrestleMania 37 on night 1. See, this is actually really exciting because anybody who really knows who Bad Bunny is, you guys know that he's actually a very, very successful artist, obviously representing Latin America, and WWE would obviously like to capitalize on that market, especially with rumors ramping up that WWE plans on launching the NXT Latin America program. See, WWE in the past has done this with NXT UK. They just did Superstar Spectacle trying to attract the India audience, and now Latin America, South America, Mexico, things like that. You might see more integration with an upcoming program such as that one. So WWE is in the business of using Bad Bunny, obviously, to attract his viewership and hopefully attract new eyes to the product. So you might be wondering, why would WWE book Logan Paul? Well, there's two reasons why. Let's look at the sport of boxing. Everybody knows the Paul brothers have been very successful at bringing new eyes to the sport of boxing. In fact, a lot of people, a lot of analysts, casual fans, whatever it may be, I think a lot of people have been very quick to admit that boxing was a dying sport. And I can even argue that Jake Paul and Logan Paul may have saved the sport. Guys, it's pretty damn simple. Logan Paul has an audience that will come to watch WWE, and if they like the product, they might stick around. See, it's a huge gamble for WWE, but WWE has done something very well in the last 20 years of being in business. WWE has reshaped the minds of casual viewers to believe that WWE is the only wrestling product in the world. And in fact, I've seen this, I've witnessed this, I've seen this firsthand with people. I would be at work showing somebody who's never watched WWE before, never watched AEW before. And if I'm watching AEW or New Japan, in their mindset, they just call it WWE. See, there's another company who has done this, and that is UFC. Sometimes if you watch, if you watch UFC and you have friends who watch UFC, you might not call UFC mixed martial arts, even though that is the sport. Sometimes if you're watching Bellator, somebody might just call it UFC because they think MMA is UFC. I know it gets really crazy and confusing here, but I hope you're following along. See, this is what WWE has done with pro wrestling, though. WWE has reshaped the identity of pro wrestling where people just call it WWE. It's happened a lot of times. It's happened in interviews with pop culture icons, but now it is time for WWE to capture the younger audience. So what is Logan Paul going to be doing at WrestleMania? Well, if you guys didn't know, Logan Paul has been tweeting back and forth with Sami Zayn. We know that he will be part of the documentary that is being released on this upcoming episode of Smackdown. And it is true, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens seems to be a very high-profile singles match at WrestleMania. And WWE is doing something very smart because we all know Logan Paul is going to bring in viewers just like he did with boxing, despite probably being the worst boxer in the Paul family. Well, it's just him and Jake Paul, but we all know that Jake Paul is like 2-0. Logan Paul is not really the best boxer, but he's entertaining. Whether you like him or not, he has fans, he has viewership, and they've done a lot for that sport. So imagine the world of pro wrestling where you have two really high-profile guys like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, who more than likely will frickin' burn the stadium down with how crazy their match is going to be. So what is Logan Paul going to be doing? Well, it is being reported that Logan Paul will be the special guest referee for this match, which quite honestly is the best idea for WWE. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens are going to have a really good match. You could even have a little situation where Logan Paul gets bumped, maybe from Sami Zayn. Referee comes in and replaces Logan Paul, and then Logan Paul slaps Sami Zayn and walks out of WrestleMania. Very, very easy. It's going to be highly controversial, and of course, a lot of people may or may not like it, but it doesn't matter because Logan Paul will be trending on WrestleMania Night 2, and the headlines, the blogs, everybody will be posting about it. And for anybody who wants WWE to succeed, WWE could very well accomplish that when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens go head-to-head. I'm all for this. I think Logan Paul deserves to be at WrestleMania, and I think this might open up an opportunity for Logan Paul to have a long-term career with WWE if he so chooses to. I'm going to assume this is not very cheap for WWE, but if you're upset about Andrade not headlining WrestleMania, not being a world champion, not having a spot on the WrestleMania card, if you're unhappy about him getting released, sometimes it just comes down to who can actually draw in the viewers, who is really making a difference. And in WWE, they don't really have anybody significantly who does that consistently. So when that's not happening, you bring in a celebrity. And we all know that WWE has had some really cool inclusions with celebrities in the past, but Logan Paul at WrestleMania is one to watch out for. Guys, my name is Ango. If you guys want to support the channel, check out all the links in the description. All the links are down below.